We see ESOPs in just about every industry, and I'll talk in more detail about some we see in more often, but we see construction firms, we see senior living, post-acute care, healthcare type companies, manufacturing companies, distribution, logistic, transportation type companies, a lot of professional service firms, and food service. The food world really tends to like ESOPs. So you have a couple different categories. One category of good ESOPs are companies where the people are the assets. We call them elevator assets. They walk out the door at night and you want them to come back. So a lot of professional service firms, architects, consulting firms, engineering firms do ESOPs because what they find is the productivity goes up 4 to 5% the first year. You get better recruitment, better retention, and it just really works well. And also, usually in those firms, the employees are all pushing for or a lot of them are pushing for some version of ownership, and this just answers that question. And you get very good values for those. Secondly, contractors. We do a lot of contractors, and there's a couple reasons for that. One, in the real world, contractors there's not a great market to buy them unless there's a huge service component to their business where maybe 80, 90, 100% of their business is service work. And that's recurring revenue. Most of their work usually is bid work or work they got to find the next year, and so that's riskier. Not a lot of third parties necessarily want to buy a contractor, and so ESOPs can really be a great value for that. It also keeps the whole team together, keeps the knowledge in the company, and all those tax advantages make it so that the owners can get their money fairly quickly. So we do a lot of contractors, and we're very familiar with issues like bonding and manufacturers are the biggest category nationally that do ESOPs, and part of that, and with contractors, is the fact that you really engage people to care about what's going on with the company. So you do see that 4 or 5% productivity increase. We had one client who in year 2 had $540,000 overtime, year 3 they had no overtime, and they really accredit that to the ESOP. Then other ideal ESOPs are you want to have usually earnings over 2 or 3 million, because you want to have a certain size to do all this. Now that's adjusted for what the owner would make going forward and any add backs and all that kind of stuff. But you want to have at least 2 or 3 million earnings. You want to have at least 20 employees because there's some ESOP tests that just work better that way. Now you can do it with less. It's just you do it kind of a different way. Where there's a culture that is more of a teamwork culture, that helps. If you have a dictator culture, that doesn't tend to work quite as well. It really helps in an ESOP to have a good management team. Now, a lot of times when we do the ESOP, everything's working great and the management team that's there now can produce good results. However, often the seller is thinking, I'm going to work 3 years, 5 years, whatever. And they haven't found their successor yet for themselves, or maybe even 1 or 2 other spots. And that's normal. The good news with an ESOP is that you have the stock of the ESOP that the new leadership person that you recruit can have, but you also have that really robust management incentive plan, which is worth, again, hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars.